Hello boys and girls, a very good evening and welcome to this live stream by TalentSprint. I hope all of you are healthy and your preparation for the IBPS PO 2017 exam is in high gear. We are on 23rd of August today, and if we assume that your examination, the IBPS PO prelims exam, is on the first slot, which is 7th of October, we have about 45 days left for the exam, right? 23rd August to 7th October. So that's roughly about 45 days. And I'm sure with each passing day, it is adding to your nervousness, right? I mean, this is a very, very important phase of your life. And if you are aspiring to crack IBPS PO 2017 exam, then you must leave no stone unturned and do as much as possible in the time left so that you can maximize your chances of selection, right? It is pretty obvious that one gets nervous during preparation and definitely during the examination or on the day of the examination, but it is also very important that you control this nervousness and try to keep yourselves, calm and composed, right? So make sure that while you're preparing really hard, you're working smart, you're displaying your hard work and focus and dedication in these days, you also should display confidence, right? You should feel confident about yourself, about your preparation, and set your mind that you are going to crack this exam, because any amount of preparation is not going to help you unless you are confident about yourself. So believe in yourself and go to the examination center with full of confidence. Now, I'm assuming that all of you have already applied for the IBPS PO examination. Let me remind you that the last date to apply is 5th of September. So we have about a couple of weeks more to go. And if you haven't applied already, please make sure that you apply at the earliest possible and do not procrastinate it anymore, right? There are a lot of important prerequisites for you to apply, like you should have your photograph and signature in the digital format. And I think more importantly, you should make up your mind as to what should be the preference order of banks that you would like to give during the application. We have already given all such details through various other live sessions and videos that we have done, right? Also, blogs on this subject have been made available. So request you all to please go through the same and complete the application at the earliest possible. Now, what am I going to do today is discuss something very important relevant to quantitative aptitude, right? Let me first talk about the syllabus. I'm sure all of you know about the syllabus. If you do not know about it, go watch a video on a 50-day study plan which we had done last week, right? You can find this video on YouTube, on our TalentSprint's YouTube channel, where we have talked about the 50-day study plan to crack the IBPS PO exam, where I have discussed about the syllabus in detail. But for today's session, let me quickly talk about the syllabus for quantitative aptitude, right? You know that we will be tested on 35 questions from the subject of quantitative aptitude. Now, what does it include? It includes various modules like arithmetic ability, numerical ability, right? Data interpretation and data analysis. And then we have, some pure mathematics topics like permutations, combinations, probability, mensuration, etc., right? Now, as far as the preliminary examination is concerned, you must be prepared to be tested across all the topics from these modules. Like what does numerical ability include? It includes concepts of simplifications, approximations, number series, number systems, number theory, LCM and HCF, equations, etc., right? When you look at arithmetic ability, we have all sorts of topics ranging from percentages, averages, ratio and proportions, right? Profit and loss, simple and compound interest, time and work, time and distance, ages, partnership, allegations and mixtures, and all such concepts. Then data analysis and interpretation, like you all know, is all about graphs and diagrams and tables from where you need to read the data and answer the given questions, right? It also includes a couple of other topics like data sufficiency and case theory and set theory, right? Caselets and set theory. So all these comes under analyzing the data, right? Data is given to you in the raw format. You have to analyze that, fine tune it if required, and then answer the questions asked along with it. And then we have some other topics like permutations and combinations, probability and mensuration. So I think this largely is the syllabus when it comes to quantitative aptitude. I mean, these are the topics that you must be really getting ready with, right? Now, if you ask me what are the important topics among these, I would say I have no clue, right? And I think you should also not be worried about that, because everything is important. Remember, the most predictable thing about competitive exams, especially bank exams, is unpredictable. You never know what is going to happen, right? While it is important to solve previous year papers, understand what has happened in the history so far of IBPS PO exams, it is equally important for you to also know that things can change, right? And be prepared for the worst. Now, when I say be prepared for the worst, you have to be prepared for all the topics, right? So don't try to neglect any particular topic or try to choose among these topics here. You have to learn all the concepts across all the topics. You should know all the basics and fundamentals and smart methods to answer different types of questions, and then practice as much as you can. In fact, if you go back to that video on 50-day study plan that we had done last week, which I said is available on YouTube, you would know that the preparation for these exams is done in two phases. Phase 1 is learn and phase 2 is practice. So learn is where you learn all the concepts across all the topics, and again practice will go on till the last day, right? You keep practicing till the last minute so that you improve your chances, because the only shortcut to crack these exams is to practice more and more. All right. So I think don't worry too much about what to prepare, what not to prepare. You have to get ready with everything. There's no choice that you have. And I think 45 days is a good enough time for anyone to get ready across all these topics there, right? So I think in terms of syllabus, pretty much everything has to be covered. But what is really very important when it comes to quantitative aptitude, and I've mentioned this around 176 times so far, this should be the 177th time when I say that your numerical skills play a key role in your performance in this particular subject, right? You have to be very quick and very sharp with numbers. Remember, recall all the topics that I've talked about, right? All the topics that I've listed, ranging from percentages to time and work, time and distance, approximations, simplifications, data interpretation, or for that matter, permutations and combinations and probability. Every question from each of these topics involves numbers, right? There are quantities that you have to deal with. There are numbers that you have to play with, right? And you have to do some or the other calculation or simplification for you to arrive at the final answer. So clearly, what is common across all the topics is numbers. And if you're not really good at numbers, if you cannot do your calculations efficiently and quickly and smartly, then you are setting yourselves up for failure. So don't run behind the shortcut formula, right? If your strategy is that I learn more and more shortcut formulae and then aim for a good score in the quantitative aptitude section, I think you are under a wrong impression, and that's not the right way to prepare for, right? You should focus more on your numerical skills. Calculation is the key to success in this exam, right? The faster and the quicker you do your calculations, the better your score is going to be, right? And history is very clear with this, right? I mean, in my experience of training thousands of students for these exams, the one thing that has come out very clearly is that if you cannot do calculations without putting pen on paper, then you are not going to get a good score, right? You may clear the sectional cutoff, that's not a big deal, but then for you to aim for higher, for you to score more, you have to be really sharp and quick in your calculations. And enough content is available on how to improve your numerical skills or calculation ability on our YouTube channel. You can refer to that. You can also look at our online programs for bank exam preparation to learn all those techniques. So I think make sure that every day from today, you spend at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes just preparing on numbers, just working on numbers. All right. So I think that's one very important advice that I wanted to share, and I'm hopeful that all of you will follow this. It is difficult to stick to, but remember, those who all stick to this and do this regularly with dedication will definitely get a good score. Now let me jump to something relevant to calculations, right? I mean, now that we have met through this live stream, I think I should explain you some very interesting technique that can make one type of calculation easier for you in the exam. And if you are not aware already, we are going to discuss about approximate cube root. Now you all know that finding out cube root is not easy unless you know the smart method, right? I mean, finding out cube root of a given number is going to be a complex process. But then if you are a smart student, if you know the smart method already, this can be done in a couple of seconds, right? Finding out cube root of any number is a 2-second job, right? There are simple 2 steps that you need to follow to arrive at the answer. Again, we are not going to discuss about that method because it is already available in our YouTube channel. You can just search for it and learn it yourself. What we are going to discuss today is how to find approximate cube root, right? A lot of people have discussed about cube roots. A lot of content is available. We have also covered that multiple times. But what is not really given enough focus is how to get an approximate cube root, because you know that in an IBPS PO exam, there can be 5 questions from the topic of approximations, where you have to do an approximate calculation to arrive at the answer. And maybe one of these questions is on approximate cube root, like you're asked to find out approximate cube root of 2 lakhs, or you're asked to find out a cube root of, let's say, 3 lakh. Now it is obvious that since 3 lakh is not a perfect cube, or 2 lakh is not a perfect cube, you have to do an approximate calculation. So let's look at this technique which can help you find out approximate cube roots in about 10 seconds, right, or less than that. It would take some time initially, but once you practice enough, you really get pro with it, and you can find out approximate cube root in less than 10 seconds, right? So all I would do now is share the screen with you and explain this technique with the help of an example, right? What is the technique? Approximate cube root of a given number, right? So here we go, sharing my screen now, and let's take an example. So approximate cube root, here we go. How do you do this? Well, video on the same is available again in our online program for bank exams prep, but let me explain this here. So how do you get an approximate cube root? Like, for example, let's say you are supposed to find out the cube root of 3 lakh. What is the cube root of 3 lakh? Now the question may or may not mention the word approximate, but it is obvious that 3 lakh is not a perfect cube, right? 3 lakh is not a perfect cube, so you have to do and get an approximate answer. Now if options were given to you, let's say 4 or 5 options are given to you, based on the range of the answer, you can eliminate 3 or 4 options and mark the answer directly. But assuming the options are not given, or assuming that the options are given in a way that it's hard to eliminate any of the answer options, then what do you do, right? Then how do you get the answer, right? So that's what we will look at. Now how does this technique work? Simple. You know about cube, right? Like 1 cube is equal to 1, 2 cube is 8, 3 cube is 27, and so on, right? 4 cube is 64. I mean, it is expected that a bank exam aspirant would know at least 15 cubes by heart, 15 cubes by heart. So I'm also assuming that all of you know about this, right? 5 cube is 125, 6 cube is 216, and so on, right? What is 5 cube? 5 cube is 125. How about 6 cube? 6 cube is 216. 7 cube is 343. 8 cube is 512, right? So assuming that all of you know at least 10 to 15 cubes, let me explain this technique to you all. Right now, what you have to actually understand here is that the range of this 3 lakh, meaning the cube root of 3 lakh will fall between which two numbers. So if you see, we know that 6 cube is 216. If 6 cube is 216, what is 60 cube? 60 cube will be 2,16,000, right? What is going to be 70 cube? 70 cube. See, 7 cube is 343. So 70 cube will be 3,43,000. If you look at the number 3 lakh falls between 216 and 343. 2,16,000 and 3,43,000. So obviously the cube root of 3 lakh will fall between 60 and 70, right? So that is what I meant by, trying to gauge the range, right? Trying to estimate the range of the answer. I know that the answer would be between 60 and 70. Why am I saying this? Because the given number 3 lakh is between 2,16,000 and 3,43,000. So we are looking at the nearest perfect cubes that we know, that one would know, right? Of course, you are not expected to learn 60 cube and 70 cube by heart, but the fact that 6 cube is 216 makes it very easy that 60 cube will be 2,16,000. And similarly, if 7 cube is 343, 70 cube will be 3,43,000. So because the number 3 lakh is between 2,16,000 and 3,43,000, the cube root of 3 lakh should be between 60 and 70. So look at the options. Look at these 4 or 5 answer options given to you. If there is only one answer which is between 60 and 70, you can blindly mark that as the answer without having to worry about any other detail there, right? If only one option is in this range, 60 to 70, that has to be the answer. There is no other choice. But assume that more than one options is in that range, or assume that all the options are in that range, in between 60 and 70, or assume that options are not given to you. Then how do you get the answer? So that's what we are going to look at, approximate cube root. What do you do? Simple step. Look at this. We know that the answer should be more than 60. Cube root of 3 lakhs should be more than 60 and less than 70. So 60 plus something, right? The answer here should be 60 plus something, right? More than 60. 60 is definitely there. The base has become 60 now. Now, how do you get that something extra? How do you find out what is that extra part is the question here. How do you do that? Simple. Try to find out the difference between 2,16,000 and 3 lakhs. See, the number in consideration here is 3 lakh. We have already considered the base to be 60, right? So 60 plus something. Now try to find out the difference between these two values. What is the difference between 2,16,000 and 3 lakh? It is 84,000, right? 2,16,000 and 3 lakhs, the difference is 84,000. So take that 84,000 in the numerator. 84,000 in the numerator. Now, what do you take in the denominator? What you take in the denominator should be the difference between these two numbers that you have considered here. We know that the answer will be between 60 and 70. So find out the difference between 60 cube and 70 cube. See, 60 cube is 2,16,000. 70 cube is 3,43,000. What is the difference between these two? 84 plus 43, 127,000. 127,000, right? So the denominator becomes 127,000. And multiply this fraction with 10. That's the process. This gives you the answer. I repeat, what did we do? We have first found that 3 lakh is in the range of, 3 lakh is between 2,16,000 and 3,43,000. Why are we considering only these two numbers? Because these are perfect cubes, 60 cube and 70 cube. Now let's take the base as 60. So 3 lakh is more than 60 cube, right? It has to be more than 60 cube. So 60 plus something more. How do you estimate that more? How much is it more than 60? You have to consider a fraction. The numerator of that fraction is going to be the difference between 60 cube and the given value. So difference between 2,16,000 and given value is 84,000. And the denominator of this fraction is going to be the difference between 60 and 70 that you have considered, which is 127,000. And multiply this with 10 because we are ranging between 60 to 70, right? The answer is ranging between 60 and 70. So multiply this with 10. Simplify and you'll get the answer. Approximate answer, right? Remember, we are finding out an approximate cube root. So do this, what happens? Thousands anyway get cancelled. 84 by 127. Do an approximate calculation, right? You don't have to be very precise. 84 and 127. I think the best that can be done here is this is 42 into 2 and this is 42 into 3, right? 42 into 2 is 84. 42 into 3 is 126, right? 42 into 3 is 126. So this is very, very close to 126. 127 and 126 are almost equal, right? So we can take it as 2 by 3. 2 by 3. What is 2 by 3? 0.66. 0.66 into 10. 6.66. Or 20 by 3, 6.66. So the final answer here would be 60 plus 6.66, which is 66.66. So you can say that the approximate cube root of 3 lakh is 66.66. So the answer which is closest among the options, the answer, option which is closest to 66.66 can be taken as the final answer. Let us do the same calculation in a different way. Like, let's say in this particular case, we have taken the base as 60. We considered that the answer should be 60 plus something. But what if you do it the other way? Like, what if I consider the base to be 70? What happens in that case? See, the same process has to be followed with a slight difference. Now, we know that the answer, which is cube root of 3 lakh, should be less than 70. Why should it be less than 70? Because 3,43,000 is 70 cube. 3 lakh is less than 3,43,000. So answer should be less than 70. So take 70 as the base. It should be less than 70. So subtract something. Less than 70, right? Answer has to be less than 70. So how much less? That's what we are trying to estimate. So 70 minus something. Now how do you get that something? The same process. But this time, the numerator will be the difference between 3 lakh and 3,43,000. See, remember, what comes in the numerator is the difference between the given value and the cube of the base that you have considered. Here the base is 70. What is 70? Cube 3,43,000. Right? So this time, we are going to consider the difference between 3,43,000 and 3 lakhs. How much is that? 43,000. Right? It's not a rule that always the difference has to be taken with the lesser value. No. The difference should be considered based on the base that you have considered. This time the base is 70. So the difference between 3 lakh and 3,43,000 is 43,000. So take 43k in the numerator. Denominator remains the same. The difference between the two base values that you have considered. 216 and 343, which is 127. Multiply this with 10. Multiply this with 10. Same process. Now simplify. What happens? 1000 anyway get cancelled. 43 by 127. I think it's like 43 into 1 and 43 into 3. 43 into 3 is 129, right? So 127 is very close to 129, right? Very close to 129. So I can take it as 1 by 3. What is 1 by 3? 1 by 3 is 0.33 multiplied by 10, 3.33. So 70 minus 3.33. 70 minus 3.33 is again 66.66. That's the answer. So it's obvious that the answer would remain 66.66, whether you take 60 as the base or 70 as the base. But the point that I'm trying to make here is you can do it either ways. You can either consider 60 as the base or 70 as the base. But be careful. If it is more than 60, take plus. If it is less than 70, then take minus. So this plus or minus depends on what base you have considered. right? So let me quickly repeat the process for you all in a generic way. You are required to find out the approximate cube root of x. Find out the two nearest cubes, two nearest perfect cubes of x, right? Like in this case, x was 3 lakh. I know that 60 cube is 2,16,000, 70 cube is 3,43,000, right? Then consider one of these as base 60 plus this numerator and denominator are important. What comes in the numerator is the difference between the given value and the cube of the base, and what comes in the denominator is the difference between the two bases. I mean cubes of the two bases. Multiply by 10. Simplification is anyway your lookout. You can just do that and get the answer, right? We'll not take another example, but just take a different range. Like for example, let's say we are supposed to find out. Let me clear this up, right? Let me just clear all this. Yeah. Let's say we are required to find the cube root of 4,50,000, for example. Now what are you going to consider? I know that 3,43,000 is 70 cube, right? And 5,12,000 is 80 cube. Yeah. Now 4,50,000 is between 343 and 512. I mean 450 is between 343 and 512. So clearly the answer should be between 70 and 80. So first look at the options. If there's only one option which is between 70 and 80, that can be directly taken as the answer. If there are multiple options, or let's say if options are not given at all, then you have to follow the whole process. So in this, that process would be what? 70 plus difference between 450 and 343. So difference between 450 and 343 is 107, right? So this is 107 in the numerator, and denominator will be the difference between 343 and 512. See, those thousands anyway will get cancelled, so don't worry about that. Now what's the difference between 343 and 512? So this is going to be 112 plus 57. 112 plus 57 is 169. So this is 169. Now do this calculation to get the answer. You're able to follow. 107 is the difference between 450 and 343. Right? 107,000. Right? 450 and 343. 107. And 169 is the difference between these two values. So 343 and 512. Yeah, so this is 169. Now do that calculation, 107 by 169 into 10, and add it to 70 to get the required answer. Now you might be wondering that why are we always taking 70s, 80s, 60s, 50s and so on. Well, that's not a rule. Like for example, assuming you know what is 75 cube, right? Let's say if you know what is the value of 75 cube, which I'm not expecting you to learn by heart, but let's say by any chance if you know what is 75 cube and the given number falls between 70 and 75 cube, then you can also take 70 and 75. Accordingly, you have to follow the process. The process remains the same. There's no change in the process. It all depends on the two values that you consider here. So if you take 70 and 75, you will get a more precise answer, right? If you take 70 and 72, like for example, if you know that the answer will be between 70 and 72, you'll get a better answer there, right? So this is how the technique works. Alright guys, so I hope all of you have followed this very interesting technique to find approximate cube root of a given number, right? Now this could fetch you 1 mark in your IBPS PO exam, right? I mean, we have seen exams where an approximate cube root was asked as a straight question for 1 mark, and if you practice well on this technique, I'm sure you can bag that 1 mark in like 8 to 10 seconds and not more than that, right? So this is really going to be a very important part of your preparation. Make sure that you practice more and more examples and be ready to handle this really well in the exam, right? Again, learning these techniques is not going to help. You should be able to apply it at the right time, right? Without thinking too much about it or without wasting your precious time. So I think practice is the key. All said and done, the more you practice, the easier it gets. So my advice to all of you is that the time is limited. We have just 45 days left for the exam. So just keep practicing. Remember, these 45 days are not going to come back. So you have to ensure that you focus really well on your IBPS PO 2017 goal, right? Don't shift your focus. Don't get distracted by anything other than the preparation for this exam, right? And of course, try and control your nervousness, right? Don't let it get to a stage of panic, right? So prepare really well. And before I leave, there's one more point that I have to make, which is about a mobile app that we have recently launched, right? TalentSprint has launched its new mobile app, which is now available in Google Play Store for all of you to download. Yes, it is available only for Android devices as of now. And this mobile app can be one of the best tools that bank exam aspirant can get in the year 2017. Now what it would do for you is, as soon as you download it, it will ask you what is your goal. And I'm sure your goal is IBPS PO 2017. So just enter that as your goal. Then it will ask you to take a short 15 questions test, right? It will assess your strengths based on your performance in that test. And devise a strategy, a preparation strategy, exam strategy for the remaining 45 days, 45, 46, 47, whatever days are left for your exam, right? And each day it will give you a list of tasks that you have to perform. Now these tasks may include watching some videos, reading some articles, current affairs of the day, words of the day, and things like that. And one daily quiz is also a part of these daily tasks. Now every day when you take this quiz, it will reassess your abilities and change your strategy for the next day, right? So I'm sure this is going to be a great learning experience for all of you. Otherwise, all of you to download this app available in Play Store, right? You can search for TalentSprint. It is very easy to find and available for free. So download this app, also spread the word among your friends, and let your friends also take advantage of it, right? And there's a lot of content available for you to access. Of course, there are restrictions when it comes to accessing the content there, depending on your profile, depending on the user, kind of user we have different sets of content available, but I'm sure all of you, even otherwise, will have great amount of content for you to get ready for this exam, right? So I think download the TalentSprint app now from Google Play Store, right? With that, let me close the session here. I hope all of you have enjoyed. Please share your valuable feedback. We will meet again tomorrow with another topic for your IBPS PO preparation. Until then, keep practicing and take very good care of yourselves. I'll see you all in the next session. Bye.